One of the new things I've gotten into as a gamer this past year has been modifying my consoles. In a previous video, I showed you guys out there some of my modded consoles, including this Dreamcast, which has HDMI mod, a reshell, and the GDEMU. Then I showed you this Nintendo 64, which also has an HDMI mod, but has a cool added feature of being fully RGB lit. There's a ton of different modes and colors you can use with this LED system here. It looks really cool, and it's not really necessary, but I do enjoy it. I have way more mods than that. For example, my PS5 down here, I don't know what brand it is because they're all the same. I know I got it off Amazon. This chrome outer shell here just slides on the PS5, and there's an LED ring that attaches to the fan inside that produces that RGB effect. I'll turn this on later. You'll see why. One of the more hidden mods in my collection is this RGB modified Nintendo Switch dock. Now this RGB mod takes the normal internals of a Nintendo Switch dock, which I would always recommend keeping the original dock, and it adds the RGB lighting effect. Watch what happens. There's a bunch of different RGB modes on this dock, and they all look really cool. Again, it doesn't really do anything, but it is a nice little feature to have, and it does make it stand out. Plus, when everything's dark down here, it's kind of fun to look at. Now, aside from RGB mods for consoles, I have another one I just got recently. Let me show you. This here might be one of the coolest modded things that I own to date. This here is my fully modified PlayStation 5 controller. I had a DualSense that had really bad stick drift. I sent it off to a friend of mine for repairs, and I told her, just go ahead and deck this thing out. I knew she did mods, and they always look great for controllers, and I kind of wanted something like that, so here we are. What we have here is a complete reshelling of the PlayStation 5 controller with this cool dragon skin. Now this is an actual plastic part that goes on there, not just a sticker. This part here is now clear. The backside has this wonderful grippy texture that's like rubberized, and every button is see-through. Now what you really can't see, but you can hear, is the fact that each one of these buttons has these clicky, tactile motions to them. In fact, let me pull this closer to my microphone, you can hear it better. Even the analog sticks have that clickiness to them. But here's the cool part, and this is why I was waiting to turn the PS5 on. Let's turn this controller on. Every button is backlit with an LED. This looks amazing. There's a bunch of color changing patterns that can go through this, but I have it set to the one she set it at, which is cycling through all the colors, and it looks phenomenal. This thing is awesome to play with in the dark, feels great to hold. This is possibly the best controller I've ever used, and it's probably one of the most favorite things in my collection right now. Now don't get me wrong, something like this isn't exactly cheap. I believe parts alone were $75 to get the buttons, the tactile clicky things, whatever they're called, all the skins, and the RGB lighting. But this here is an absolute work of art, and I love it. Hopefully you can see now that the PS5 has been turned on from that controller, that all you have here is an RGB ring at the top of the fan here and the bottom here that just reflect the light through the shell. It's something fancy or special. I believe the kit alone was $55. Anyone can do it. There's no soldering, there's no wiring, there's nothing complicated involved. It's just lights that plug in with the USB cable in the back of the console. So if you want to do something like this to your PS5, then there should be no problems doing this simple RGB shell mod to your PS5. I think it looks cool. It definitely gives a different vibe. Although I do like the original ones, this is definitely something people talk about. One thing I forgot to mention about my modded gaming consoles were my handheld gaming consoles, where some of the most mods I've ever had done exist. Found some. Let's go look at them. This Game Boy Advance SP doesn't have a whole lot going on, but it has been reshelled. It's going to be interesting in the future to see how you authenticate a Game Boy Advance like this, because there are so many mods that look pretty darn good, if not original. Now, I'm sure there are some telltale signs that this has been reshelled, but it looks as good as the original, and the buttons feel great. They're quite responsive, and I didn't expect aftermarket stuff to feel this good. I don't think the screen has been messed with. I'm pretty sure this is just an original Game Boy Advance SP screen, but either way, it's bright and colorful, it sounds great, and this is a really cool little mod. Not a really crazy mod. In fact, reshelling these are so easy, most people can do that without any trouble. I just had someone else fix the rest of it. Now, this next mod isn't really a mod that is a complicated one, but it is useful if you have the Sega Nomad. Now, the Sega Nomad is basically a portable Sega Genesis, and it was a cool idea, and it still works pretty well, but the problem was, unless you had the AC adapter, it went through batteries like crazy. So most of the kids I knew, and most of the kids that had these, they had that adapter because their parents were going to keep buying batteries endlessly. I don't remember what the charge was or how much time you got out of a battery, but I think it was maybe at the best 45 minutes to an hour. There's a company called Laser Bear Industries, I believe, and they make this battery pack for the Nomad. As you can see, you have the contact points right here, these little tabs, these are all 3D printed, and it slides into the back where the Sega Nomad battery pack for the OEM one would have also slid in. So match the points, clicks in right there, just like that. Pretty simple stuff. This is technically a mod, I guess, in the sense that, you know, they don't just make these. Yeah, this is a different kind of mod, right? It's a specialty made mod. It's not a hard one that goes into the system itself and wires in, although there are lots of those for the Nomad. This is more of an external mod that helps extend the battery life. Now, when you buy this from the website, and you can only, I believe, get this at Laser Bear Industries, fully assembled or unassembled if you want to assemble it yourself for some reason. It is 3D printed, and you have to buy specific batteries, which they link to a place where you can buy the ones that this requires. I can tell if you use the Nomad a fair amount, so you were playing this, you know, on and off for a while.
Yeah.
And it held up for a long time. In fact, we haven't charged this battery pack for months, I want to say, if not longer. And it booted up no problem the other day, didn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, we can do that right now and see what happens. Make a liar out of me. Well, aren't we looking silly? Well, it is finally out of charge. A couple things I forgot to mention here. There's LED indicators here. This is a button you can click, and it'll show you the battery status. It charges with a good old-fashioned Sega Genesis power adapter. That really is all there is to it. Nothing crazy about it. Just a battery pack, and if you have a Nomad, I would definitely recommend picking one of these up. They're not cheap, but they're definitely more useful than buying batteries. Now, the last thing to talk about is this absolutely gorgeous Sega Game Gear that I had modified for my wife, I believe for Christmas this past year, from a good friend of mine online, Crossface Gaming here on YouTube and all the other social media things, TikTok, Instagram. He did an amazing job with this. I asked him to come up with something special, and he absolutely did. This is a reshell of a Game Gear in this beautiful white and like mint blue color here. And there's a few things going on. First off, so I know it's been recapped on the inside. On top of that, the screen has been replaced. I'm not sure what kind of screen it is, but I can tell you it's absolutely gorgeous. It's been modified a few different other ways. First off, it has USB-C charging because now, instead of having batteries, now it has these 2 lithium-ion battery packs, and you can see Retro 6 is the supplier, and a great supplier, for almost all these mods. Retro 6, amazing stuff they sell and work on there, engineering that I can't comprehend. So it has lithium-ion batteries, it has USB-C charging, and what you can't see on the inside is there's a heck of an audio amplifier in this. I'll boot it up, I'll put it at full volume, and I'll pray I don't get copyright hit on YouTube, but let me tell you, this thing is gorgeous and loud. Okay. I gotta turn that down because it is too loud for me, but I think you get the idea. Hopefully you can also see the quality of this screen coming through the video. It is absolutely gorgeous. Those LED lights are reflecting, but it is really, really, really pretty. This is one of my favorite things in the collection that never gets played. I know one day we'll take it back out and everyone will be obsessed with it again, and hopefully that day is soon, but until then, this unfortunately is going to gather some dust. I really hope you enjoyed going through these modded consoles and controllers with me. There's some really cool stuff out there. I do wish I had the skill to actually mod my own stuff. I hope you enjoyed this look at some of my modded consoles and controllers. They're really awesome, and if it's something you like or can afford to do, I'd recommend it.